We have a special guest today, my daughter, Kirsten Jackson, and welcome to the Perspective.
We're going to be starting this morning, and it's so good to be here again. We decided to talk about feminism. And as a Christian woman, you know, can I be a feminist?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, can I be considered a feminist? And be a Christian? This is the one where I started to look at very carefully exactly what it means. And this is where the gender wage gap, that's what they wanted to stand for, reproductive rights, sexual discrimination. And then another thing that they have to do there, you have to be, if you're a feminist, you have to be pro-choice. Also, you have to embrace LGBT agenda. You have to fully support abortion. You have to be fully behind that. And also, you have to fully support Planned Parenthood, which that comes in with the abortion part. And then they also feel like if you're a conservative, you can. This is their thinking. If you're a conservative, they just about leave you out. You're not part of them. And also, that you have to hate Donald Trump. You cannot be a true feminist unless you hate Donald Trump. I never really looked into the feminist movement. And then and that's when I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and look into it. And if I'm going to be for something, I need to know why I'm for it. If I'm going to be against something, I need to know why. Why make a stand? Maybe I'm just nitpicking. You know, well, I don't like this. It's just because of, which abortion is a big deal to me. Don't take me off course. But then maybe there's something else that I could go for. That's where I felt I had to make a choice. Just like we have to make choices in our lives.
Oh, definitely.
I feel like this is one choice I had to make. What do you think?
Well,
about
based on that
feminism?
terminology, I mean, you know, if I have to follow that definition, then I would have to say, no, I'm not. But when you break out the points, I would agree with a lot of the points in there and what they have fought for. I mean, when you even think about the women, what they did just so I have the right to vote. Then I see women who don't vote. I mean, you know, I can get really boiled
it's a
about
great
that.
time to live for women. This is a great time to be alive and to be a woman in this country, right? And so other countries and
opportunities.
Yes, absolutely.
But it is
any career you want to embark on, it's available to all women. Whereas in Saudi Arabia and all these other third world countries, you know, they're oppressed.
There are still
really are oppressed.
problems, though.
Absolutely.
And gaps, you know, like they definitely, if you do the same job, you should get the same pay.
Yes.
And I experienced that in the workplace, you know, and that was wrong. And, you know, but there are still some areas, some domains that women are still trying to break into, you know, as far as being considered, you know, equal to, and I think that still has a ways to go, you know.
Well, there's some conflicting data as far as that goes. So I think we can really get into that maybe in another segment, and you and I can check that one out right there. So, but I like the can Christian women should we be calling ourselves feminism? I think that's kind of like, I think that's a really good question to ask. I think Paul, you know, so many feminists, right, they want to criticize the Bible and the scriptures and the teachings of Paul and of Jesus, that they held women back because of submission and because of many other things. But I believe Paul, he was the first one to put on there's an even playing field there, that God created us equal. And that there's no man, no woman.
That's right.
In the Bible, that God sees us the same as far as humans.
We're one in Christ.
That's right. That's right. We're one in Christ. Now there's differences, but that's not to say that we're not equal. And there's different roles for a man and for women according to Scripture. But has nothing to do with with the male patriarchy that they want to criticize so much, that the man is keeping us down, whereas I think that is very, very minimal. But anyway, that's a whole other.
It's definitely evolving. I mean, it's getting better.
Absolutely.
You know,
yes.
compared to each of our generations.
Yes.
We definitely see huge strides and
and there's just a huge push. I don't know if Kirsten knows, but in the universities, especially in the humanities, all of the social sciences and the psychology and all of that having to do with in the big, large universities, most of their professors are they are progressive liberals.
Well, that's almost any university.
And then that's been probably since my mom's day, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse, where they're pushing that they no longer want women to see themselves as traditional, that we should be more like, we have to have these male qualities, or I don't know. And so they're really pushing that, which that is why there's such like what they call war on boys. That's where it's all stemming from. It's stemming from the studies, from the universities, and all of the progressive movement. So I don't know if you've noticed that in your colleges. It makes them very uncomfortable.
To me, I think it's sad. I really do. I know we've come a long ways. And like y'all were saying about we have the right to vote, and you know, now there's women. My husband's was police officer. Now there's women police officers, and all these things that before women couldn't get into, and so many open doors now because there were women out there that were willing to fight. There were, and I don't mean fight, you know, put up your dukes, but they were willing to go out there and say and speak up. Yeah. But now it seems like it's going too much. I guess I use the left. Too much to the left, because
far
now,
left,
very far left.
Yeah.
You know that if I say I'm a feminist, people are going to say, "Well, what do you mean?" Now they
we don't want to be men haters.
Yeah, people think that you're a man hater. You think you want to abort your baby. You're for all these things that you know that I am not for. You know, I'm conservative. I want to go by what God says. And I was just thinking how they, it's kind of like you believe a lie. Some women, I'm not going to say all women, because I don't want to say that. They don't really look into what does the feminism stand for? What is the feminist movement? You say you're feminist, okay, what are you standing for?
And some of them might not know how that is worded.
I was reading some comments from some woman, and she mentioned all these things, that she considered herself a feminist, and she was for this, and she was for that, and it all sounded good. But that's not what the feminists, nowadays, you go out there, and what are they talking? They're talking against men, how men are this, and men want to keep them down, and it kind of like to be a man hater. And some of the women out there, they're there with the little girls, they're there with, you know, and they go home. What happened? Some of them are married. They go home to their husbands. This is my own thinking. They go to their husbands. And how are they going to be viewing their husbands? Oh, you just want to keep me down. Who do you think you are? No, you can't tell me that. I'm the boss. I'm equal. I'm this. I'm that.
Yeah. Till it comes time to smash a roach or something, and they call for fix the car. Yes, exactly.
So, and that's the way God intended it. There's some things that we can do, and there's some things man can do, and we need each other, and we're there for one another. And I don't want to stand for something that I'm a man hater. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to say I was career. I wanted to be a career woman.
I think feminism now these days, they want to do away with the social construct. Like they believe that the differences between boys and girls, and we're going to talk more about this later, it's social. They just want to do away with the whole acting like a boy. They want the boys to act like girls mainly. That's really what they want.
Well, I think the question that you asked me, I mean, I think how I would respond is, and we do have to be very careful when people ask us questions, that we clarify the definition to make sure we're all on the same footing. That's so important, right?
Yes, it is.
And I think if someone asked me, I would have to say there are things that I love about the feminist movement, but that based on that definition, I would say no, I would not be a feminist. But I was raised to be independent and to not think that my life would be complete if I did not marry, and that it was not fulfilling, right? Because, you know, so I looked at it saying, and I wanted that for my daughters. I don't want them to think that that's the end gap for them, that they have to be married and dependent upon a man. You know, and if they have, you know, want to have a career, I want them, you know, want to have a career and be able to stand on their own, you know, their qualifications. I don't want anything to be given to them that they didn't deserve and earn. I don't like that, you know, just because they're a woman, okay, we need to make sure we have so many women in this level, you know, nobody wants that, you know, but I am glad for the opportunities that the feminist movement has brought about, right? So,
yes.
I
agree.
Piecemeal it. I could not say, you know, yes. And then again, I do have to always go back and put it within the guidelines of the Bible,
into perspective.
God's Word, and make sure, you know, that I see it. But there is so much more freedom in God's way than what people realize.
Exactly.
If they haven't studied it and all they've done is heard what somebody else lectures and makes them feel like they are suppressed,
inferior,
you know. But if they read what God has to say about it, you're right.
Exactly.
You
it's
know.
just like the Lord says, you know, when you look into His Word and He shows us the way, you know, He says, and the truth shall set you free. We're free. We're free in Christ. And I think that's the greatest way to be, that He shows us how to live. He shows us the woman's role, the man's role, whether they like it or not. It's if you live that way, if we lived according to the way God says, we would all be so much happier. You know, we would have that peace. We would have that, you know, and we wouldn't have to depend on these women that to be out there and say things and that women believe this or women have to believe that. We don't have to believe what they tell us. We can study God's Word and find out for ourselves. Putting together.
I think too. I'm sorry, Mom.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so I think too that that amongst like Christian women, like sometimes, like, I don't know, when I was recently saved, you feel, I felt, maybe it wasn't just said, but it was kind of the underlying thing that women are made to get married and have babies and serve their husbands and submit under, no matter what. I mean, you submit no matter what, and that's just kind of how I felt like I was taught as I'm getting older and I have a daughter. I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not everything.
There's a difference between feminism and just being independent and strong. And
definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, that's definitely something that my parents have always, taught me, is just, that's why I'm going to school, because I want to have a career that has a salary and be able to support myself and not think about not depending on a man to be able to support
who
me.
you marry.
And that doesn't mean that I don't want
right.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I'm just saying there is a line. Like, you don't have to be a feminist to be strong and independent.
Right.
Yeah. No. Like, tell them what your job, what you do while you're going to school, how you're earning your money.
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad works in construction, and so I'm working with him, so I have to wear a hard hat, steel-toed boots, a vest, and it's horrible. I hate it, but
is it all in pink? Did you order pink?
I have a pink vest. But I mean, I don't know.
She learned how to. She was forced to her junior year.
Right.
The whole summer. It was your sophomore going into her junior. Okay. So she was forced. She cried. She didn't want to. And my husband told her, "You are going to learn how to work in a man's world." And you're going to gain that kind of confidence. If you can do that at this age, you can do anything, because men can be very intimidating.
No, definitely.
And she's so he wanted her to know what it was like to work in that kind of environment under his supervision.
And that was the most amount of money I have ever made in a summer. I probably will in a summer. So, I mean, that's why men tend to get paid better because they do jobs that women don't want to do.
Yes.
Like construction, you know what I mean? Things
Yeah.
like that. So.
Yeah.
That's true. Sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
that's not in every case, but I agree with you. No, I've re-roofed my house. That's
that's
hard work,
awesome.
and if you don't.
I would never do that in a million years.
They earn their money.
They do.
That is hard work.
Yes, they do.
And before I could start driving, my dad made sure I knew where to check the oil and how to change the oil, and that I had to be able to by myself change a flat tire, or I was not going to be able to get on the road. I needed to know how to jump. He didn't want me to be vulnerable and in a position, where I was dependent upon, someone else. And I even took auto mechanics because with that in mind, I didn't want to go to an auto shop and have them work on my car and him come out and say something, and I wanted to know, okay, no, that's not right. So I took an auto mechanics class because I wanted to have that knowledge.
I had no interest in having that knowledge. None whatsoever. I will hire you. You study it, you learn it, and you just do it, and I will pay you. I will not re-roof my house. I will not fix my car. I will not get greasy. I have changed a tire. And I can do that. But no, I just assume I love living in the 20th century. What are we? 21st century. 21st century.
I lived in both, so it's great. I think what we're discussing, all the independence that women do have, and we're so fortunate that some of us can do those things. Yes. It's a choice. We can if we want to.
Absolutely.
And I think
I love a woman who can.
But it's when I have to meet certain political criteria. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I don't want to be known as I'm for abortion. I'm for the feminism movement. Associated what it entails.
Yeah.
I can't associate myself with it.
But you celebrate being a female.
But I love being a female. I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't have the husband that I have.
An interesting tidbit that I heard on the news the other day for the first time in history, or U.S. history, well, probably history, more women entered the medical school than men. So I thought that was great. Yay!
Well, there's
more women graduating from college.
Yes, that's true.
So
that's true.
What is that commercial? Come a long ways, baby.
Yeah, we came a long way, baby.
I know I have. Yeah. Look at me.
Okay.
So I've been very blessed. But I think it's very interesting.
Mom. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we will take it up again on some other aspects
we'll
of
get
it.
more
There's
into it.
so
There's
much
so
to
much.
It. Yes.
I agree.
But I think it's a great topic.
I agree.
The topic I want to bring to the table for discussion today is about toys. I heard on the news about the World Organization for Toys, and I might not be quoting that completely right, but they all got together, the major toy manufacturers got together, and they were talking about the future of toys, and they're wanting to go away from, girl toys specifically and boy toys, and make it more genderless toys. And it made me think about my personal experiences growing up, and then even as raising kids, and the way people look at this. I'll start with me as a kid. My mom used to tell us that my brothers were interested in having dolls at a real young age. And I remember my son I think someone gave it to him, but he had a doll too. And I read that was okay in a certain developmental period. It's not a problem to have a boy have a doll. It teaches a nurturing aspect, but I know that people can freak out and, I don't know, should I be letting them play with, a doll? And then my sister, one of my sisters, she hated dolls, never wanted a doll. And so she would ask for like cars and action figures like G.I. Joe and Evel Knievel. She wanted that Evel Knievel and she liked everything, all the boy toys. So I'm sure that my mom received some conflict on that, her desire to, and the way she was looking, how is she going to grow up? Is she going to embrace this? But she did. And she grew up and she set aside those boy toys, and she's very feminine. And my brothers are very manly, even though they had, you know, little dolls when they were when they were growing up. Now, I don't know if they're going to be like,
oh, no. You have to confess everything.
But, you know, and then I had two girls, night and day. They look night and day. You know, one's dark, one's light, fair, and their personalities were that way. I had a tomboy and I had a foo-foo girl. You know, she loved all of the foo-foo, but, you know, they... Right. And even though she embraced everything female, she was the tough girl, you know. I mean, she was the first to jump off the cliff when we would go, you know, cliff diving, and
fearless.
Yes, she was fearless. She was the first to go down the sledding, you know, of all of us. We're like, wait! So I think that there is some paranoia. I think there is some concern. People do have some concern, right? But yeah. I think that we need to put it in perspective and based on some experience.
Yeah, based on the Christian, as a Christian parents, I think that we need to be confident in that God made two genders, and I don't think the kids themselves are not confused about whether, and contrary to what some overly progressives might say, they're not confused at all about what gender they are. So depending on boys playing with dolls and girls playing with trucks is not going to confuse who they are.
Right, that's true.
In the inside, and I think that we need to trust that. And I think it's good that boys are not afraid to cross gender lines, right? And then when they're little like that, and play with what we would consider girl things, and or girls crossing that line and playing with trucks.
Well, yeah, like growing up, I had on my dad's side, my cousin that was closest to me was a guy, and so when we were at Grandma's and Grandpa's house, I played with all of his toys. You know, we did trucks in the driveway and made all these castles.
That's exactly right.
But then when I was over at the other grandma's house on my mom's side, the closest cousins in age to me were girls, and we did all the girl stuff, you know, and I'm not confused.
No. And Kirsten was raised, she's the youngest with two
older brothers, and all we ever did was like, there's pictures of me and my brother was playing basketball, and he would dress me up in his clothes because he didn't want me dressing like a girl. And I grew up and I'm super girly, so
yes.
You know, it just changes as you get older.
One thing specifically, because she was so into wearing her Disney costumes. She had a whole basket full of dress-up clothes, and her favorite one was a Snow White one. So she was into wearing that every day. And Nolan wanted her to play cops and robbers with the guns and the whole army war thing. So she's like, okay, I want to play. And she did want to play, but I have to wear my Snow White. So she put on her Snow White. Remember I would tell you about that? Yes. She put on her Snow White, but she had all the war gear on. So she had all the straps and the guns and the here and there. But she was all Snow White. I don't think I have a picture of that. But it was so cute, and it fits her personality like to a T, because she's really girly. But at the same time, I mean, don't get she will punch the living daylight. Okay, she can handle herself. She can handle herself very well, being with two brothers. So yeah. I mean, you know, I don't see anything wrong with crossing those lines, and I think the thing is, I know what you're talking about. They had like when I heard about it, it was during the Obama administration. I don't know if they've come together again.
It was they probably meet annually. I'm sure, maybe every 5 years.
Summit, and they talked about that. So it was a huge deal on the news when Target first decided to do gender-neutral toys, and not say boy toys and not say girl toys. You just pick whatever they want. So it was a big deal. They made the news for a long time. I remember that, and some parents were, you know, like worried about that. That was gonna confusion. Exactly. And I think and in that there's a perspective, or there's a way of that I can kind of see, because what is there in my mind, I see it as almost like an underlying agenda, because it's so wanting to do away with gender. So much of it is not wanting the boys to have their God-given traits. They want to squash that, because they think that boys are too violent. They think boys are all these things, and they want them. So they're pushing that so much that I think that's what they're afraid of. Like it's just this overall, like this subliminal message almost that they're trying to put out there, and that's what a lot of people.
Well, I think we all have to use wisdom.
Yeah,
you know, I was thinking again too, like my mom, she chose not to ever give me a Barbie doll, you know, and she had her reasons for that. You know, she thought that was putting too much emphasis, me growing up, on this image that I could never, you know, attain to.
Most of us couldn't.
And all that, you know, as a little girl,
Yeah.
you know, all the dress up, even though I had a, you know, like I love dress up, but she chose not to buy me any Barbie dolls. And so, you know, you can use, you know, some wisdom. We're not saying that just, you know, throw it to the wind, but.
What's funny though is that, so the loud voices in this whole movement, they want to say that boys and girls would be the same if it weren't for society. Right. If it weren't for the parents just making them.
Those
be
of us who have know that that's
they
not
know they're
true.
Born that way. And so, you know, these toy companies, they spend millions of dollars researching what boys want and what girls want, because it's about how much money, you know, they want to sell their toys.
Sure.
So they do all this research. They have surveys. They put the toys out there. They have all these kids. I mean, they do years of this. And so what they did was, like Legos, for an example, they put out their building blocks, their Legos.
Yes, right.
So they had boys over here and girls over here, and they're building a castle, like a building. So do what you want. So the boys right away started building their forts. How are they going to fight in war, right, with their little characters? And the girls paid more attention to what was inside and who they were, and the boy king and the girl king, and what
the relationships
versus and the friendships versus the exactly the you know what makes a boy,
right?
Okay. So yeah, they do all that, and they're like, okay, but you got all these other people saying, no, it's not about that. It's because society is making our girls and boys be a certain way. And the toy companies are going, but that's not what they want.
Right, they know what the research
that's
is.
what I read
They
too.
don't know.
Yeah,
it's not
the
what
girls,
they want.
You know, they desire the things that, you know, little dolls and different things.
Well,
and
like
the
it
boys.
depends upon the, you know, the majority.
But like you said, many times, you know, like you were saying about yourself, I grew up, I had my brother and my sister. So with my sister, I would play dolls, and I'd play, you know, homey stuff in school and all that. With my brother, I would get marbles, and we'd be playing marbles, and we'd be playing with little cars, and then I grew up to be, wow, I was an awesome baseball player. I could play just as good as a boy.
Yes.
So I'd just say, boys, move over.
Throw like a girl.
Yeah, I threw like a guy. So, and I love baseball. So it doesn't mean anything. I think parents worry too much. I think just let them have their choices. You know, boys want to play with the doll, let them play with the doll, and girls,
well, those
same
of us
thing.
who have
you know,
both sexes, I know that I had girls first, and so I could have bought into some of that, you know, just having girls, and then once I had a boy, I knew they're totally different from the get-go.
Oh yes,
and you know, so you defunct that fact.
We had 3 girls.
It's not a fact.
Yeah.
Well, I know I was a little concerned when I did have my son, because at that time my husband traveled a lot, and we were not around family. The church we went to was a very small church, and I thought, oh, you know, he's got all this girl influence, you know, and my one daughter, who was all into makeup, she would put makeup on him. And my husband did not like that. She would put wigs on him and take pictures, and she thought that was great. Right. But I did worry, you know, how is that going to affect him having so much, you know, of the female influence, you know, and not having the male influence. And I did worry about that. But again, you know, I don't think that caused, you know, any irreparable damage.
No. Definitely not.
I think he turned out good. But so again, what we keep coming around to in our topics of conversation, it's a balance. And using wisdom, and that's what's so wonderful about the Bible, is he tells you all you have to do is ask, and he will give you wisdom. Amen?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, so right now we're going to talk mascara, and then we'll get into the falsies. That's where Kirsten will educate us on the falsies. So, but for now, I wanted to recommend a mascara. This one is called Liquid Lash Extensions. It's by Thrive Cosmetics. You get it online at their website. It's a $24 price tag on it. So yeah, it is not your drugstore mascara, but it has, there's things about this there that might be worth it to some of you. I realize not everybody, but I really like this. I have very short, very thin lashes. And so this kind of gives a falsy kind of look because of what it's made out of. So there's a fiber to it. It's called a liquid fiber technology. And you can really tell when you put it on, and if you were to, at the end, when you remove it, it stretches. So it's real strange. And then so when you put it on your lashes, it actually pulls them and they make them look a lot longer, like falsies. I like it real well. And I would imagine with somebody with a little bit thicker lashes or a little bit longer, this would actually work really well. And so it doesn't have any of your harsh chemicals in it. It has vitamin B complex, it's paraben free, and it's sulfate free. I really like this. This is already my second one. And sometimes I use it by itself, and sometimes I combine it with a waterproof, because that's what it's not. It's not waterproof. I really like waterproof. It's pretty much all I wear, but I do like this very much. For those that tend to be a little more sensitive, or they don't want to use falsies, which is me. Can't do falsies. So now we'll take it to Kirsten, who is my falsie queen here. Okay. So there's the extensions, right? You've actually done extensions.
Yeah, I did extensions. I think, when did I do them? Like the first time? It had to have been like my sophomore year. Not because I wanted to, because I had to, because I have a bad habit of like picking things. So I would always pick off my mascara all the time, to the point where I literally was getting ready for school and I picked off my lash.
She was bald. She had no lash.
So I was like freaking out, and it was right before school. So
she had just like 2 or 3 of them.
I look like SpongeBob. It looks so bad. Yeah, and so I went and got lashes. But the only thing about them is that they're so expensive. They're like 80 to like 120 plus like tip. Yeah. So I was always spending money on that. I mean, I had a job, but that's where all my spending money went. If it wasn't for gas, it was for that, because I was obsessed with them. So I've been wearing them for a really long time. So I decided to just do the strip-ons, because they're like $5 at the store.
That's a big difference.
So that's what I've been doing. So I really like the dramatic look, so I always get the Ardell. That's the brand, and they're about like $5 to $6 at Sally's or H-E-B. Sure. Anyway, so yeah, so I've been wearing those. So
how long does it take you?
It takes me well, depending, like it used to take me probably 8 minutes, but now it takes me like 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really. So this is what I use. Like, I'm gonna show y'all the glue. So this is the Duo, which y'all have heard of, but a lot of Duos are like the squeeze bottles, and you have to squeeze it on. But I like this one because it comes out like that. Yeah. And I mean, there's like hundreds of YouTube videos that show you how to apply lashes. I'm just showing you which ones I like, and if you're more like my mom, who when she does wear them, she usually goes for like the natural ones. These are still a little bit dramatic and long. But
tell them what happens
if you're watching, when my mom wears them, she walks out the door and they're sticking out. She looks like Yzma like Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. So it's not cute.
I don't know. I'm terrible at it.
Anyway, so when you take them off, like if your eyes are already this big, then props to you. You just stick them on. But my eyes are a little bit smaller, so you always have to like cut them to fit your eye. And so you don't want to cut them where it's short, because if you cut them where it's short, that's where like you're putting them in the inner corner, and it's gonna poke you like all day long, and you're gonna be crying, and it's gonna pop off. And that's gonna be a mess, because like my grandma said, she doesn't want it in her soup. So I don't have scissors right now, but you have to cut them at the end and make sure it fits your eyes, and you measure it on. And then you just stick the glue on. You have to do a thin layer. And a lot of people, this is like people's #1 mistake. As soon as they put the glue on, they want to put it on, and you don't want to do that, because it'll be slipping and sliding, and you don't want that.
How long do you have to wait?
I would wait about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
And then how long does it last all day?
Yeah, all day. But you always maybe like if you, I don't know, if you're not, I don't know. I would probably carry lash glue with you in your purse if you have them on, just in case you want to like touch them up if they're coming on the corner.
Do you use an eyelash curler?
No. Well, they're already curled up, yeah. But I curl your lashes before you put it on.
That's what I was wondering.
Because it holds them
Okay,
up.
so then
Right.
it's better.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But
Do you have to get a new, put a new set on every day?
no, I would probably replace them like after like a week of wearing them, maybe.
Oh, really?
Maybe. It just depends on how well you treat them and stuff like that. But now they have magnetic ones, which is what Miss Linda has with her right now.
Yes. Of course, I was not able to do this. I'm the opposite of Terry. I am plain Jane, but I actually loved Kirsten's eyelashes, and when she was telling me that she did the extensions, I was like, oh, that's so cool, but I don't like anything on my eyes, messing with my eyes, and I don't wear, obviously, you can tell, a lot of makeup. So my daughter ordered me these are the magnetic ones. Now there's a variety on price on that as well, but we didn't order the most expensive because we wanted to try it out first. And my daughter, who wears a lot of makeup, she loves makeup, and she wears contacts. You know, she tried these and had a difficult time. But the idea, I think it'll keep, you know, if they'll,
practice, right?
you engineers, you know, y'all keep working on this. I want to see it improve.
That's a good one.
Because you want eyelashes.
Yeah, well, it's just amazing how it works. You don't have to worry about, see, my eyes are very sensitive to any kind of makeup. It's like, you know, I can wear it for a while and then my body will react to it, and I can't wear that brand. I'll have to go to another brand and then another brand after just a few weeks. So I just forget it. But I think the idea is brilliant.
And another thing about those too is that there's about 3 magnets on them, so it's hard. So when you can't really cut them because you'll be cutting off a magnet, and then it won't.
True. Good point.
Won't work on. You know what I mean? So
You'd have to, and they do offer like different sizes, you know, when you're ordering. So that's probably, I was just trying this out and I didn't know very much about this. So, you know, I might experiment more now that
You need a whole day, right, to practice.
You know, don't give up.
Definitely, I mean, whenever I'm going to school and I get up really early and I don't want to put on, like putting on makeup, so I don't put face makeup on ever. Yeah. So whenever I have my eyes good, I mean, then you're fine, because if your eyes are popping and they look good, like I don't wear face makeup.
Hence my mascara on a deserted island.
Yeah. Like this is what I would take.
It's deserted. Who's gonna see your eyes?
I know.
I don't know. You know.
Okay. Would that be what you take? You take your falsies on a deserted island?
I'll take them till I die.
I will. If you were on a deserted island, what fashion item would you make sure you had?
At my age, I need everything.
You take your whole suitcase.
You have to take the whole suitcase.
I have a little baggie with all my makeup, and that's what I would take.
The ship was sinking. You're like, wait!
Yes. Get my baggie. Everything is in there. Except for the false eyelashes. That I would not.
I'm the only practical one. I would take lip balm, okay?
Yes.
That's in my bag.
I know. I'm terrible.
Even at my age, I'll take
That's not terrible. You're a glory gal. Time for my review. I know I've been giving book reviews every time, and I have more. This is, the first one I'm going to talk about is for women only, but anything that Shaunti Feldhahn writes, I think is well worth your time. What I loved about this is she was a research analyst, and she polled questions, like for this one says for women only. She took some questions that men wish their girls would know about them, and she asked those questions, and then she said she doesn't put in her point of view. What she does is give you what the results say. 80% of men say this, and 77% say this, and it's very eye-opening. So she did that, and she started out with this one. Then she has like quite a few. She has for men only, for women only, for young men, for young women, for parents only. But I love it because she does an analysis afterwards And it is from a Christian perspective because she is a Christian author. So if you've never read any of her works, they're very, her books, they're very simple, but they're very to the point and very eye-opening. I think you will enjoy it.
So our next segment is going to be about conversations that I believe every mother and daughter should have. I wanted to make reference to a book that I got many years ago when my daughter was about, I don't know, she's a preteen for sure. And it's called 5 Conversations That You Should Have for Your Daughter. And it's by Vicki Courtney. And it was written back in 2008. However, 10 years later, it is still very relevant. And so I don't want to talk about the whole book. I would recommend it. It's really good. It talks about from beauty all the way up from the time that they're little. It talks about all the way up from the time that they start dating, the conversations you should have with your daughter then. So I would recommend this book. And the first conversation I think that every mother should have with her daughter is that you are more than the sum of your parts. Now that's talking about beauty and what the world sees as what is beauty. And so I kind of, because everyone knows I was a hairstylist and I've been submerged in the just the whole aspect of the outward appearance. So I worried a lot that Kirsten, that I might have been giving her the wrong impression, that that was what really mattered. And I really got convicted, and I wasn't sure if that was what I was doing, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing that.
That you had that conversation.
Exactly, and that I didn't want her all of a sudden, and that I was doing it without even realizing, and that I was teaching her the right values and the right morals as a Christian, as a young lady, and so that's what I was talking about today. How do you get your daughter to have that confidence of who they are on the inside? That's what really matters. And I think that we need to start when they're very, very little, right? Yes. Is instilling confidence in who they are and where they put their value, and that their value is what they get from God. That's and right. that brings value to, and then that has to be all the time, because they are getting bombarded yes. with what they see as beautiful to the world, right? And so, yeah, then that's kind of what I wanted to bring Kirsten in for, is that she's a regular teenager who likes social media, and that's all fine. I think it brings a lot of good too, that there's a lot of good things out there. But there's a lot of danger because it's not regulated. So they can do and they can see and they can behave in ways that they never would if it wasn't for.
And it gets never erased. It's always out there.
Yes, yes. So what do you say about that, Kirsten?
I mean, whenever I see a girl who I think is so beautiful and she ends up being really mean and snobby, I immediately am that's not, I don't
want to be that way.
Compare myself to you anymore. Right. You know what I mean? I think you're so much prettier when you're being nice to people. I think people see that and they're more attracted to you. And if that's what you're looking for, then be nice. Yeah.
That reminds me, my mom always told me, pretty is as pretty does. Yes. Yeah. Constantly. Yes. Would tell me that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just thinking how, people are so attracted to beauty at first. But then they get to talking to someone that maybe is beautiful, and then they're not kind, they're not thoughtful, they're full of themselves. And then what happens to that beauty? It's literally just people, she is pretty, but she is not nice, she's not thoughtful. And then I also read how in What Men Want, there's a book, and the authors did a survey and everything. They talked to all these different men, and they found that men they wanted somebody kind, somebody nice. Yeah, they like beauty, but that's not the first and foremost thing, which I thought was very interesting, that's what they wanted, was somebody kind. And that's what the Lord tells us to be kind to one another, you know, and treat each other nice.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to look, you know,
the best you can.
Yeah, of course. And I will hope that once I have a daughter, I want her to feel, because you get confidence from wearing makeup and doing your hair and dressing nice. That's just how it is. And when you're confident, you like exert this like energy that is like, you know what I mean? Like,
you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, you treat others, I don't know. It's just, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think it's super important to focus on your inner self, the way you're treating people in the way.
So a high percentage of young girls, they suffer college age, high school age, they suffer from depression.
Because they don't feel like they match up. Or...
Yes, and they feel like that, according to several surveys, they feel like that's growing. That
I'm sure
more and more girls are suffering from, and boys too. Guys, obviously, guys too.
Definitely,
they suffer from depression because of the constant comparing, feeling like you're falling short. And even when they know that so many of these girls, I mean, they take like 1,000 selfies before they find that perfect one to put out there to the world. And so,
just like the thousands of pictures we have taken. To pick for our cover.
Exactly right. You want to portray yourself in the best light. Now everybody knows that, but even still, you can't help but compare. You know, and so you have to have that emotional stability, and that has to be taught. Some girls are naturally, I think, insecure, right? They're just kind of naturally that way, no matter what.
They can be beautiful, what we consider beauty, and they're still, oh no, I'm too fat, I'm this or I'm that, I need to lose weight, or my nose or my eyes. Or
but how much worse? How much worse is it when they use social media to, they're constantly being compared to, so that there's that depression. So I don't know. I don't think that you ever gotten real depressed, right?
No.
Why not? Why don't you think?
I don't know. I'm not depressed.
Because why?
I don't know.
Because you just don't get.
And it's not that I don't compare myself to other girls, because I think every girl's going to do that. I mean, from young to old. But
young to old, that's right. That's true.
It's true, but I don't know. I just have never wished that I was them. I mean, you always, like, sometimes I would look like a certain girl, but I can't look like them. Like, you look how you look, and you can't change that. Like your body, your shape. You can lose as much weight as you want, but you'll never sometimes not have that hourglass figure that everyone loves, or you can't change the way your jawbone. I mean, maybe you can with like some crazy surgery, but I don't have money for that. So this is what I'm working with. So I just got to make it look as best as I can. You know what I mean? That's all you can really do.
I don't know why growing up, I wasn't the prettiest thing in the world or anything, but I was pretty confident, but I think it was my dad would always show love to us. And I never felt like I was unloved. And my dad wasn't saved, but he was a man that showed a lot of love, a lot of compassion, a lot of forgiveness. And I think through that, it gave me confidence.
Well, maybe that's one thing that's a key thing, is that you have a father.
Yes, a father figure that shows affection.
Always, a strong father figure that shows value to who you are.
Like your dad would always tell y'all are beautiful.
Yeah.
And maybe once we come to the reality that God doesn't look on the outside. And I know to come to that, that you finally clicks.
Well,
I'm beautiful. God says I'm beautiful. That's what he says in his word. You're wonderfully made. I made you.
When I was young, just a very new Christian, so I had to have been around 13 or so, and we were going to another church, a Christian church, and the pastor's wife had asked me a question about how I looked, or I don't know. She was just trying to make conversation, and I made a comment about how much I hate my hair. And flat irons didn't exist back then. Had they existed, it would have saved my life, because when they came into existence, I was so happy. Anyway, so flat irons did not exist, and she got after me, for like having a bad attitude, and that I'm supposed to love who I am in the inside and all of that. And at the time, I was like really annoyed with her, because it's like, you don't even know, you don't even relate, you can't relate to you. I was like, I wasn't mature enough, or I don't know, or educated enough to value that opinion. I don't know, it wasn't until I got older and got more, had more of a relationship with Christ too, and more confidence, that I realized, yeah, that's definitely it's what's on the inside. It's your relationship with Christ that really matters. That is true beauty, is your virtue.
Even if your dad says, you know, you're beautiful, that's not who you were really wanting.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
You know, like, because my dad would say that, and I'd say, Dad, you have to say that, you know, I'm your daughter, I look just like you. Of course you're going to say that.
That's true. That's true.
You wanted somebody
Me too.
to say that.
My parents told me that too. I didn't believe
And I
them.
didn't.
You
Yes,
have
I
to
didn't.
say that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what she would say, and I'll say that to my son, and he'll say that to Mom. You're my mom.
But you have to. You have to tell your kids.
No, but they're wanting that to come from in their insecurities in there, because I definitely.
They'd rather hear it from
dealt with that.
strangers than your relatives,
you
for
want
sure.
to be,
Yeah.
you know that God puts that in you. But one thing that I thought was very interesting, because He makes us so individual, and just like the snowflakes, everything, our fingerprints, our sound waves, what they say, even our ear prints, everything is so individual. And when you start grasping that He designed you.
That's right.
And in Ecclesiastes, He says He hath made everything beautiful in His time. And I always laugh about that, because I said, well, I was a pretty baby, so my time's over. Everybody, because some people, you think about it, there's some ugly babies, but then they turn out to be some very debonair, handsome older men. And they're like, wow, they grew into those ears, They're looking good now, but
that's like most men look better with age. It's incredible.
Well, I don't know. There's some who look good young.
There's some that look good. But the ones that are awkward in their 20s look really great in their 40s.
So that's that verse.
Yes.
You're going to have your time.
You're going to have your time. Women, it's during the childbearing years. That's what I come. Once you're out of the childbearing years, it's all over. It's all downhill from there. All right. Well, thank you. That's very good.
That was interesting.
That's good.
I come with a very, very strong recommendation that you go vote. It's very, very important. If ever we needed to vote, it's this time around. November 6th, which is on a Tuesday, get informed, know the issues, know who you're voting for, what they stand for, and go vote.
Thank you for joining us today. We had a great time. We hope that you did too. If you liked our video, give us a thumbs up. There is a thumbs down button. You can do that. We prefer a thumbs up. Also, subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated, and it's free. Also, leave your comments. They're greatly appreciated. We'll try to get back to you. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us maybe what you might want to hear in the next upcoming episodes. We do read them, and we would love to hear from you. So hope to see you again next time. Have a good week. So if you like our video, you can on YouTube, there's a little thumb.
If you like the video, give us a thumb. You don't have to explain it to
But
them.
maybe they don't know what the thumb
Yeah,
is. Like my mom always says, where's the thumb?
Okay, good. I promise everyone knows.
No, I know about that.
You know about the thumb. Well, you did ask me if we had to pay to subscribe.
That would be funny. You do not have to pay to subscribe.
Okay.
And at the bottom of the screen, you should see a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do that. That'd be funny.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Okay.
Don't say it's free.
Don't say it's free. Okay. If you liked our videos, give us a thumbs up. You can give us a thumbs down. We prefer a thumbs up. Just saying. So, also subscribe. That my mom wanted to know if they charge us to subscribe. You don't have to charge to subscribe. Okay, no money involved. It's completely free.